Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to Center for Spiritual Living, Kauai. My name is Michelle Lemay. All right. Well, thank you for coming out and joining us. This is our fourth installment of the Power Talks from the Heart. And always what happens is there is one theme and then different interpretations. So I'm very excited to see how it unfolds. But first, I will just share a few announcements. We are going to be having regular service on Sunday, as usual, but then we're also going to be having our Christmas Eve candlelight service, which is going to be very beautiful, lots of candles and singing, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful evening. So that's going to be from 6 to 7, and I'm hearing something. Oh, it's Rob. It was me. Oh, all right. Interesting. And so for coming on Monday night, just bring your jolly old shiny selves. We'll have the candles for you. There'll be lots of beautiful music. And again, that'll be from 6 to 7. And then this is a by donation. So if you would like to leave a gift this evening after hearing the gifts, then we have baskets around the room. Everything that we do just comes and supports CSL Kauai. And then I would love to just share that we're going to take a hiatus for a couple of months in regards to doing Power Talks because January is extremely full. We're usually full, but it's full. And if anybody else in the audience feels so inspired to want to share and come up and speak, then let me know and we'll have you on a list so that when we start back up, we know who to go to and who will want to participate in this. And if you know anybody else, you can spread the word as well. All right, well, I'm going to settle us in with a treatment and get these ladies up and going after I share a little bit. So how about we take a nice deep breath together, just settling into our chairs and letting everything go that came right before this moment. For all we have is this moment. It's exactly where God, Spirit, this universal source that we call love is always in this moment. It is the gift. And I am knowing that this same force, this same love is omnipresent and everywhere. There's literally not a spot where God is not. And that is why I know it courses through me as a divine expression. And the same for everyone that's here in this room, the speakers, those here listening and receiving, those online watching. We're all the same divine source, this God in action. And I am knowing that everything that needs to be shared is shared, everything that needs to be heard is heard, and that the gift is given and it is received. And I'm knowing this, and I am blessing this evening, knowing that it's a divine appointment, and I am so grateful. I'm grateful for the unfoldment and for the beauty of this evening. I release my word into this law, knowing that it's already been done in the mind of God, that this evening is perfect, this evening is fun, and this evening is filled with love, as we say it together. And so it is. So the gift, of course, the Revs chose this because it's Christmas time. So we do a lot of giving and receiving, even if you don't really celebrate Christmas, just the holiday spirit in general is the time when it's just almost feels natural to give a little bit more maybe, or think about giving a little bit more. But when is a gift a gift? Is it when it's given, or is it when it's received? I was thinking about that today, and what I came up with is a gift when I say it is. It's my perception of a gift, because I can have a physical gift that's received, but there's so many non-physical gifts that I receive all the time if I choose to see it that way. And that's what's really wonderful about this philosophy is we get to choose how we see things. And I wanted to share a small story from something recent where I really feel blessed and feel it was a gift. Because sometimes, for me, I don't always see the gift in the moment. Have you ever been there too? You might see it after the fact. And sometimes a gift is a lesson or a silver lining, or it could be something that's physical as well. But recently I had a visit with my mom, and her dog passed away while I was there. And I had the opportunity to see the gift in the moment. And there were many gifts. even amongst the sadness and the impendingness of the event. I knew he had been ill for a while, but when I saw him, I knew that it was going to be sooner than my moms were really wanting it to be. So the gift in that was the joy I saw, his name was Sasha, the joy I saw Sasha have when I arrived, because we've always had this super special bond ever since he was little, and I literally got 1,000,000 kisses. So there was a gift I received, but it was also fun to see him get the love and he just got excited, and because of his illness, he'll get excited, but then it made him cough a lot, and so it was bittersweet. Some gifts are bittersweet. But the other gift that I got was to really have the opportunity to spend time and give him love and say goodbye. And I really believe he waited for me to come. And both my moms had been telling him for weeks that I was coming, so he knew I was coming. But I really believe he waited. And it wasn't just for him, and it wasn't just for me. It was more for my mom, because he knew that my mom would be really sad. And so I was there to help with him, but also to help with her. And I'm so grateful that I had that kind of relationship with my mom, where I could just be there with her, and we could both grieve, we could both cry, we could both still laugh. It was a mix of everything. But I see a gift in that, because that wasn't always our relationship. You know, it's both of us working in an effort to have this really close, beautiful relationship that we both nurture and appreciate. So there's a big gift in that for me, because I also see how much we've both grown and changed, and, you know, been able to unwrap all the gifts from my past and my childhood and saw the silver lining. So those are the gifts that we see after the fact. But to be able to be with my mom and be able to just love everybody all up, even when being sad at the same time, that's something that is precious to me and means so much more than anything I could have gotten in a box. Though I like that too. Just saying. Ron in the audience. Although it's funny saying that, because we don't really exchange gifts, because we prefer to go do something as our gift with each other and have that time together and have that excitement. So that's really what's been on my heart the past couple of weeks, is just the gift of life, and that there's a gift in death too, and that it's not one or the other, it's just all a gift. But that's really because of my perception and how I want to look at it. And that's what's so great about getting to have 3 powerful, beautiful, creative ladies get to come up and share with you what the gift means to them. And the first beautiful woman I'm going to bring up is Meg, and she had a successful career as an addiction counselor and a hypnotherapist for over 20 years. It's a long time. Half my life. Just saying. And we've known each other, been friends for several years now, about 10 years now. And although she is semi-retired in this profession, she promises us to treat us to a beautiful talk and meditation all about creating atmosphere. So how about a nice warm round of applause for Miss Meg.
Thank you, Michelle. Hi, everybody. I'm really excited to be here. So yeah, atmosphere. You know, I was thinking, there are so many gifts that I have experienced over the past few years, and I think a lot of it has to do with, for me, sort of aligning myself to what I wanted, and then just opening up to accepting it. And you know, I thought about talking about the gift of sort of manifesting and getting what you want, and then I was sort of going through reading through one of the books, what's the name of it? That one, Science of Mind book. Good title. And I came across this topic of atmosphere, and Ernest Holmes says that every business, every place, every person has a certain atmosphere to it. And have you ever noticed that? Have you ever walked into a place or a room and been sort of captivated by the atmosphere? Have you ever met someone with that certain je ne sais quoi? That certain something? Have you ever been repelled by an atmosphere? My job that I've been doing the last 13 years on the island is I've been working in real estate, and boy, atmosphere is really important when you're showing homes. And today I've got my house on the market, and I had people walk through and look at my house. And, you know, creating the atmosphere is really important. Lighting candles, a little bit of music, open up the windows, spray some Febreze, all that. And the feedback was it was very cozy, and you could tell that there was a lot of love that was put in the house, which was, that's what I needed to hear. Anyway, the law of attraction in the book, The Science of Mind, says that mental atmosphere is the direct result from a conscious or unconscious thought. So think of someone you know that's happy. Do they go around complaining? Think of someone you know that's successful. Do they have an attitude of failure? Or do they present with confidence and strength and peace? Ernest Holmes says the atmosphere decides what is to be drawn to it. So what if, like a radio dial, we could tune in the perfect atmosphere that we want to take in and put out? Well, the truth is we can do that. That's a gift. And I found that to be really true for me, that I've been able to sort of, when I remember, you know, calibrate myself to my own sort of radio station. You know, you can sort of tune into the waves to what feels good and stay in that. Stay with that channel. Keep that channel. Turn it up. Share it. Let the neighbors hear. So I found that because that's been true for me, I wanted to gift you with a guided meditation to help bring forth and remember that certain something within you, to calibrate even closer to Source so that you too can feel and attract what you've been, the gift that you've been deserving and wanting. So if you like, just do a little relaxation, close your eyes. You can keep them open, take a deep breath, just relax. You don't need to do anything right now, you're just here. And with your mind's eye, you can relax all the little tiny muscles in the scalp of your head and behind your eyes and your neck, chest, shoulders, arms. Let it just run on out through your fingertips. And with the next breath, preparing for this beautiful calibration, just releasing anything that no longer serves you. And you don't even have to ask yourself what that is. Just let it go. Feel the relaxation pouring through you now, through your chest, stomach, and abdomen, and hips, legs, knees, calves, and on out through your feet, taking with it anything that no longer serves you. And you don't even have to ask yourself what that is. Just know that it is so. And now think of a place that you have felt deeply connected to. What does it feel like? What does it look like? Smell like? What is that certain something that draws you to it? Can you feel it within you, that is stirred and moved by this atmosphere? Now, if you're not already, just align yourself with this perfect place. Align with its energy. Calibrate your own spirit to touch and connect with the spirit of this place. Breathe it in. Does God live here? Jesus said, "My Father and I are one." We must, if this is the case, we must be the embodiment of this Spirit. We identify so deeply because we are one. Feeling this peace, I choose to stay connected and aligned with this source. I am divine presence. I allow this presence to continue to fill me, emanate from me. My own personal channel, filling me, flowing through me, lighting me up, and radiating from me. That certain something, perfectly drawing more of it onto itself as we speak. Taking it in, and if you agree with me, you can say, "And so it is." Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Beautiful. I feel all. That was a gift. Thank you. The next beautiful lady I'm going to bring up, you are most likely very familiar with her. Her title is "The Gift is in the Giving," and it's all about the gifts of creating a generosity plan. So I'd like to bring up staff minister here at CSL and our outreach coordinator, Reverend Diane Decker.
I almost said good morning.
Again.
Good evening, Kauai. I want to tell you about something that happened in my experience about 9 or 10 years ago, where I received a wonderful gift that I certainly didn't expect. In 2009, I was laid off from a job that I really loved. And as part of that process, knowing that other people continued to work, but I was laid off, instilled in me these feelings of maybe I didn't have anything to give. Maybe I wasn't good enough, and so they chose me to be one of those people they laid off. That kind of thinking. And I had recently been licensed as a practitioner, so this was like all this weird stuff swimming around in my head, getting all mixed up. Knowing that I'm good enough, that I am strong and an emanation of spirit, and knowing that I have something to give, and then losing my job. In 2009, I came across a book by Kathy Lemay called The Generosity Plan. And this was probably just perfect for me at the time because being unexpectedly out of work, philanthropy, you say it, philanthropy was not uppermost in my mind. But I knew from my Science of Mind training that you have to give God an outlet. In order for a new flow to come in, we need to be giving. And I was feeling somewhat restricted and like I didn't have enough. And even though Sue was telling me, we're fine, we're going to be okay, don't worry about it, I still had this feeling within myself that it was not okay. We weren't going to be fine. I had to do something to, So I read this book. And right off the bat, she talks about going back to your giving roots to find out what do you know about giving from your family and from your culture. And I thought, I can't ever remember my parents writing a donation check. I can't ever remember my parents volunteering anywhere. It just wasn't what they did. They were raised in the Depression in great restriction, and so that wasn't what I grew up learning. So Kathy Lemay walked me through creating a generosity plan for myself. There were several areas of my life that I looked at. One was my immediate community and what was needed. What matters to me and what is needed in my community. I was looking for something that I feel passionate about. When people think of giving to a cause, they sometimes think about children's welfare or education, about poverty or about the environment, animal welfare, things like that draw people to donate and to give of their time. For me, it's food. Can you imagine? Foodie Diane. Everybody has this basic human need to eat and to be healthy and to have enough. And there is more than enough food in the world to go around. And what I noticed in the community that I lived in was that there were haves and there were have-nots, when there was so much abundance growing even in the fields in our community. And so I decided to take that as my issue. That was the issue that I really felt passionate about, was doing something to connect that link and work towards food security for the people in my community. And so I volunteered at the food bank. I looked at my time. Well, I now had some extra time, so I volunteered at the food bank. And I got to meet the people in my community who did not have enough, for whatever reason. And I got to find out that in my unemployed life, I had it pretty darn good. I had my needs met on a daily basis. And I had enough to give. And so I continued to look around my life and see where I could make changes and be an outlet for God as it related to something I was passionate about, food. We had a nice property, and so I decided to start a garden. And I started growing food. And I grew so much food that summer that I ended up giving away over 100 pounds of food to the food bank where I was working. So it was just extra that Sue and I didn't need during that time of lack. We had more than enough to give away of what we were receiving. The other thing I looked at was how I was giving of my money. I don't know about you, but I find it pretty easy to put $1 in the basket when it goes around, to put a $5 here or send a check for $10 a month or something like that. And what I realized was I was kind of scattering resources, and I wondered if it really made an effect anywhere that I put a little bit. And so I decided to look at that and look at how I was spending my money. This was along the same time. I had the practice of putting $5 in the basket at church every Sunday. And then the board made a presentation to the congregation one day and told us that it cost $33 per seat per Sunday to keep the doors open, whether anybody's sitting in it or not. And I went, oh my goodness, I've been putting $5 in the basket all this time, not even knowing what it costs to run a center or a church. And so I upped my giving, which still wasn't the full tithe, but I learned how to increase my giving to a point that I could do in giving my time, my talent, my resources, even though I was still unemployed. And so one of the things I noticed from this time of being unemployed, which certainly didn't seem like a gift to me, was that I found the gift of generosity. I found the gift of giving of myself even when I thought I didn't have anything to give. And it lifted me out of that funk that I was in about being laid off. What happened was, while I was busy growing food in the garden and sending out resumes and filling out applications, I started getting calls. And what I know is that I would not have been getting those calls for employment if I had been sitting around moping about not having anything to give and not having enough. I was busy trying to give what I could possibly give. And so I did that. And so this book, The Generosity Plan, walked me through creating a vision for my giving. It taught me to find and narrow down to a focus on something that was important to me, and then to start taking small actions towards it in whatever way I could. So if you're considering ways that you can give this time of year and every time of year, I have a couple suggestions. One is to start small. Don't think that you have to give to everyone and fix everything all at once, because people tend to scatter their energies when they do things like that. Pick one thing that you're passionate about and focus on it, and then start giving consistently to it, whether it's your time, your talent, or your treasure. The second thing I did was I looked within. And I looked for those places where I was generous already, and I started praising those in myself. Like showing up at the food bank every Tuesday, I realized was my favorite day of the week. And when I got hired to go back to work, that was the thing that I missed the most, was not being able to be with those people that I now know personally, that I prepared food for, that I gave food to, that I talked to about their lives. I no longer had that connection with them. And so I looked within myself to find those things that were already working and that I was already grateful for, and ways that I was already generous. And then the third thing I did, and this was really an eye-opener for me, was to find someone who I consider generous and ask them how they got that way. You never know what it is in somebody's life that helps them to turn the corner from putting $1 in the basket when it goes by to giving of themselves, giving of their treasure, and giving of their time in a way that others perceive as generous. And so that was the gift of being laid off. It was the unexpected gift of giving of myself and finding ways to give more that enabled me to see the gift in that, what I thought of as a crisis. So Michelle was talking about, is it a gift when it's given, or is it a gift when it's received, or do you even know when it's a gift? I thought it was adversity, and it turned out to be a gift. It taught me to get out of myself, it taught me to give, and it taught me to receive. Mahalo, peace and blessings.
Thank you. Beautiful. All right, and next up, it's going to be beautiful Stephanie. Stephanie's path through the world has taken many twists and turns. She has always taken the road less traveled, and in fact, The Road Less Traveled was one of her first books that gave her insights for her life. Though the paths have been many, the results have weeded out things, thoughts, or even people that were irrelevant to her. Her road is one of peace and well-being, and this is her short story of that gift. Please help me welcome Stephanie Starrett.
Okay, we're going to have a little bit of fun here. So the gift, this is about my extraordinary, self-misunderstood, ordinary life, okay? Life was never really exciting to me, not at all. It was like humdrum. It's like I got to do this, I got to do chores, I got to do this. I don't ever get enough, I don't ever get gifts, I don't, why am I, this is another day, okay. It was that way because I was raised in the military, okay? And I was raised constantly at the command of the military. I had to say, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir. I mean, I'm a child. What am I, I can't just play. So teachers, the church, all of this. Little did I know at that time, however, that I would need this contrast in order to see this thing I call the gift. I would need to see that big of a contrast. Dad was the first person I learned to hate. Mom was kind but unaware, and they seemed to be a united front, not in my favor. So I rebelled against everything. There was a magnitude of resistance that was built up over time. I'm over 60, and so that's a lot of years, okay? A lot of resentment has resistance. I don't want to say resentment, but resistance that was completely even unconscious to me. By the time I reached my 20s, it was the 70s, so I got to play for 10 years, and boy did I play. I played with no restrictions whatsoever, and I call it my 10 years of free-falling. I just did everything I could possibly do because I didn't have to answer to anyone. Then at the end of that, I thought marriage would help, but it just raised more questions. Then a divorce, amiable, but still something was missing. And I kept filling it up with outside influences. There was someone that I met that I thought was enlightened. You know, we used to go and eat vegetarian, and I don't put vegetarianism down. I love it and everything. It's just that sometimes they're high and mighty. And I remember sitting down to a 24-person meal, and they was asking the question, what does enlightenment mean to you? And I said, or what is a way to get to enlightenment, I think was the question. And my answer was really getting to know your feelings and your emotions. And of course, I was poo-hawed through the whole dinner, like, duh, no, that's not it. That has to do with the mind. There's nothing, you know, that's just child's play. And so it was like I went, you know, that was really important to me. My feelings and my emotions, and to have them say that, it was like I just couldn't understand it. So two of the emotions that were always foremost in my craw were I would cry at movies of any kind of separation. Any kind of separation, whether it was a death, a loss of a love affair ending, I would cry, and then I'd ask myself, well, why are you crying? It's not even about you, you know? So I had this thing about separation, and I knew that there was something about that I didn't understand yet. And the other one was being satisfied. I was never satisfied. And I've come to now know that well, separation isn't real, and you have to be satisfied with what is. I mean, you have to come to a place, or I had to come to a place of being satisfied before I could move into something greater. I had to be okay with where I was, okay? So I had a good life, I had close friends, but this story of lack still had me by the short hairs. Really. You know, the kind that when you wax your legs and you wait for it to grow out, those were the short hairs of lack. I mean, I couldn't even see it, but I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. You know, something was going to end, and I was going, oh, God, here it comes, here it comes. Okay, so I went through many modalities and many courses through the next 10 or 12 years, one right after another, and it was always from somebody telling me, well, you got to go do this. Well, you got to go to this seminar. Well, you got to go here. Well, you got to do the Course in Miracles. Well, you got to do this. Well, you got to do that, you know, and I just got so inundated by all of this, I'm just going, and I would reach an apex, but it didn't seem like I was getting it or something. You know, there was just still that missing piece. So I ended up on Kauai and found most of my resistances. I found them. And emotions, they wouldn't stop. So I was like crying nonstop for the first 6 weeks I was here, or 6 months, I don't know. And these were, and they say that Kauai is like the 6th chakra, and it will pull every conceivable issue you have out of you and make you look at it. So now I was in training with Mama Kauai, and within 4 weeks, I landed at CSL Kauai, taking the practitioner's course on a shoestring. I had no money. I was living dollar to dollar. I was living with less than $1,000 a month and getting Medicare. Okay, so I was still not making ends meet, but somehow came up with that, what I needed for that course, and I took one step at a time, and I kept doing one step next, and then I'd go, okay, where's the money, you know? And when I finished the course, or probably within the before the first 6 months, Patrick did a treatment with me. He was teaching us how to do treatments, okay? And he did a treatment with me where he made me feel, well, he allowed me, or I allowed myself to feel like a queen, hence the crown, okay? So much so that within 1 week I had a new car because I felt like a queen driving that car in that treatment. And I had no idea where this car was. My daughter picked me up about a week later, said, I'm taking you to the car lot. The car was there. I got in and drove it. I bought it. That was it. It was not looking around for a whole bunch of cars or anything like that. And I love this car. It's perfect. So that was quite the gift. Several instances over the last, I guess, 4 months since I became a practitioner. I think it was September or something like that. Eared their ugly heads about beliefs that I had for me to clear out. And I recognized that each one of them were gifts as I learned how to notice them, how to sit with them, how to forgive myself, how to forgive the person, how to forgive the whole scenario, and watch it disappear out of my life. And I didn't do anything. So what I did do, though, was I started meditating. Even though I was a practitioner for 4 years, I did not do a consistent meditation. I did contemplation, but I didn't do meditation. Okay? And I thought contemplation was good because it was like me having a conversation with God every morning. But meditation was something different. I started this about 2 months ago. And in order to do it, I did it because I knew I was going to have to move out of my house that I loved being for 4 years, so I knew I had to move. Something was moving me, okay? And I knew I had to do this. So I quit drinking. I, once in a while, have some pakalolo. I don't care. Sue me. But I quit. I quit it too, okay? So I was really serious about this meditation. So I went and did this every day, and I had the time. I got up at 6 in the morning, and I'd have my meditation for 40 minutes to an hour, and then I did my contemplation. Okay, so I always had a couple hours in the morning before I had to get to work by 9 or 10 o'clock. And what happened was during those moments, lack disappeared. It disappeared from my life. And I realized what it was. It had been the Antichrist of my life. Okay? And it didn't matter if it was money, if it was time, whatever I was lacking. It was my It was my resistance to knowing myself, to knowing who I really was. Any kind of lack was my excuse to not be still and know that I am God. Consciousness itself was teaching me now what it was. There's no time. I jumped from reality to reality in no time, virtually now. God was and is teaching me how to play the game. I am teaching me how to play the game. God and I are one being. Principle is real, and my gift is my own focus. So the gift is the experience of movement without moving, both peaceful and exciting at the same time. It's mysterious, yet it answers all my questions. It's beautiful and powerful. It is silence and everything in it. It's true freedom to my complete and constant surrender. It's actualization, being what I really am, pure God consciousness. So my question to you is, who's really speaking here? I'll leave that up to you.
Thank you, and if you want to stay up. Wow, how about a round of applause for all three ladies as I bring them back up? And we'll just have a few moments to do a little question and answer, or if anybody in the audience has anything they would like to share or ask any of the speakers. We'll get another chair up here, and I'll leave this with you guys, and I'll grab the other.
Oh, thanks. We got it. We got it, Michelle. All right.
Anybody in the audience would like to share anything, or any insights, anything that pinged for you, or a gift? All right. Mr. Lemay.
Good evening, and thank you very much, ladies. That was really, really powerful, just really powerful. Thank you for the gift of awareness, the gift of giving, the gift of receiving, and the gift of atmosphere. Meg posted the question, and I do create an atmosphere that I take with me when I walk, pretty much after I open up my eyes. I create an atmosphere that carries me through the day. So, yeah, it's very, very powerful. It's very, very palpable, and it, it has allowed me to create friendships and connections throughout my life. So, yes, it is real. Atmosphere is real. Thank you.
Thanks, Ron.
Anybody else? I don't know if you're looking.
Diane. So at the time, you say when you were laid off, you were studying the science of mind. So did you consciously know that you were sparking like the law of circulation when you just started giving?
I knew I had to give an outlet for spirit, that I couldn't keep myself held in. Otherwise, and that is what spirit circulating in our life is spirit moving through us. And so, there's a whole nother story about why I got laid off that I know now on the other side. But, it was, at the time, it was learning to give of myself again when I thought I had nothing to give. Yeah.
I actually do have a question for everyone, but the first one right out of the gate is this. Did you guys call each other about the purple thing?
It's like the source did that.
top of Stephanie's head.
And then, right, I mean, it was just amazing. And then the second part on that one, before I get to the real question, is how does that stay on your head? Oh my God, that's just amazing, amazing. So first of all, thank you. Thank you so much for all of yours. They were so individual and so heartwarming for me. And thank you, Meg, for the meditation. I wish it, if you had known. I just know everybody's going, I only got 12 minutes, and I'm going, but I would have loved to have had more of that meditation because I was going deep, but I know there was that ding, 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 Diane. Diane, I wanted to ask you too about that idea because I think we can all relate to it when people, I think I have been fired maybe twice in my life or let go. They call it let go. You call it whatever you want, but I felt fired. But tell me, how did you, I understand the gift of that, but self-esteem is a huge thing, and it can tear us down. So just a couple of words of wisdom. I mean, besides the story, what you had to really do, because I know it took me years to get over it because I couldn't understand how everybody didn't love me, and then when somebody lets you go. So just a little bit more just on that, how you worked with your self-esteem during that period.
Well, I did have a pity party for a little while.
Yeah.
I was one of the oldest people on the team, so I had that age thing. I thought it was ageism, and I had all these things, that why they chose me. This was my absolute favorite job that I'd ever had, and so it was quite a loss, and it did hit me hard for a while. But what I have is a faith that everything happens for a reason. And I had that faith then. And now, 10 years later, it didn't take me quite 10 years to figure it out, but I know why I was laid off. And I know why, things happened I was staying in a job that it was time for me to move on to the next thing in my life, and I was not making the move myself. And so Spirit used the company to do that for me. And I found that out later on. But one of the things that made me love this job so much was I was deeply connected to my surroundings in nature. And that didn't stop. I continued to stay connected to the beauty in nature all around me and to God within the world around me throughout this whole experience. And I think that pulled me through. I was a newly hatched practitioner. So I delved into the science of mind teachings, and I talked to my minister about it. And, and I worked through those things the best way I could until I started brightening up and getting an inkling that I did, in fact, have something to give. Yeah, nice. Thanks for asking.
Uh-huh. And then one last one for Steph. Steph, so what do you do now to continue to make yourself feel like? First, two questions. What does it feel like to be a queen? And then second of all, what's your daily? You said meditation to keep you. How do you keep that queenship in your queendom? There you go.
Okay, so to make everything really kind of short here, I do sometimes listen to Abraham Hicks. Okay, and she has this method that helps me keep that vibration high, okay? And that is upon awakening. The very first thing is I spend the first 17 seconds of every day saying something that I appreciate, that I am looking forward to, even if it's something like, wow, I'm going to experience a miracle today. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to do it. And so I spend the first 17 seconds not starting my momentum, let's put it that way, starting how I'm going to churn and keep that alive during the day. And then I get up and I have my coffee and I have my meditation. So that's what keeps me up.
Well, and I was really thrilled just personally knowing all three of you ladies to be a part of tonight with you, because I've known Meg for 10 years, and I know we've even done some of your hypnotherapy work together, and then Stephanie being in class, and that whole process, how we've both grown and changed and evolved, and then Diane, knowing you and Sue right from, when you got here on island, and even seeing the recent getting the house and all that. And for me, really what the gift is watching that in people in my life, like it feels really good. Like I remember when Stephanie got that car, and I'm driving my old little clunker around, and I walked out of class. I'm like, I am next to get a car. Like it was highly motivating and very inspiring, and it wasn't too much longer. Yeah. So, but what I saw for me was because I was excited and happy for someone else's success, it really felt great, and it really was inspiring. And yeah, now I'm not driving around my clunker and have a great car. But it's really, for me, I've had my moments where I haven't always been happy for someone else's success because I felt different. And nothing comes from that, except probably a little bit more of that. And it feels so different to be excited for other people and to see the growth and the change and to be part of a community where that's what we're all wanting, is to cheer each other and raise each other and help each other, because when at least my experience is when I'm a part of that, I lift up too. And everything raises. And I so believe that what we do here, whether it's tonight or anytime we come together, I know it ripples out. I don't know where it goes or how it goes. I just know that it does, and I know that we make a difference. Yeah. Anybody else would like to share from the audience? No? All right. Well, how about another round of applause for the ladies? And thank you, guys. Yes, and thank you for joining us. And I'll close us out, but I have a seed thought that came from the day before Sasha passed. My mom's and a few friends and I went to CSL Fort Lauderdale, and they give a little quote, and this is from the pastor there, or the minister there, Dr. Chris Michaels. It says, "There is value to be received and growth to be gained from every human experience, even those that are painful." And that really brought me a lot of comfort that we had got that morning. So I leave you with that thought as we just bring tonight to a close, and thanking these beautiful ladies for your gift that you shared tonight, knowing that tonight was an absolute divine appointment, that God has been here in each and every moment, showing up in each individualized expression right here in front, standing here with me, and knowing that it's also expressing in each and every one of us that are here in this room, knowing that this is the gift. That it was received, it was given, it was passed out, and everything that happened here tonight just does. It ripples out into our lives as we go home, and ripples out from the center, changes the vibe of the island, the world, the universe. Everything is a gift. And I'm grateful for this time we've had together. I'm grateful for the beautiful speakers. I'm grateful for everybody who came, who gave love, supported, and received, and gave, because coming here is giving too. And knowing that it's all perfect, it's all divine, and we let it go as we travel on into our evening, and together we affirm it. And so it is.